We have Sagestone Management, who represents 7 generations. We agreed that when they come back, they would provide their report. Yeah, I know. You don't need to read the whole thing. It's just a summary, because we are videotaped, and we'd like our community to also know, some of the things contained in the report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Council.
Have a seat.
Morning.
For those unfamiliar, this is Gene Keluche, who is acting as agent for 7 Generations Corporation. This is Steve Collins, right? Do I have
Correct.
Who is an assistant to Gene Keluche, and this is
Becky
Demet, okay, who is the staff who carries on the day-to-day initiatives or duties of 7 Generations. Okay, go ahead, Gene.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, we've submitted a written summary of the activities that are normally addressed at these gatherings. And what I thought I would do is just briefly go down through that, touch on those points, and then respond to whatever questions or inquiries the committee may have. I believe it is a matter of record, and certainly you are familiar with the fact that on December 24th, the Oneida Business Committee held a special meeting to modify the charter of 7 Generations Corporation to limit its activities to commercial leasing, and also made a provision to appoint a managing agent to manage the affairs of the corporation. And that subsequent to that, Sagestone, of which I'm a sole owner and chairman and chief executive officer, was appointed to provide the services of the managing agent. And we have, under that appointment, there were really 3 initial activities that were crucial to both stabilize the situation and understand what the various alternatives are in order to carry out the matters of the General Counsel's direction to dissolve the corporation. And under the procedures of the Business Committee and your charter, that really requires an orderly process of dissolution to protect the assets and to ensure that the tribe's interests are addressed in a way that is not financially damaging to the tribe itself. So we have reviewed those documents, those proceedings, the structure, the portfolio of assets that are under the management of 7 Generations Corporation, and are in the process of developing recommendations as to the best way to proceed to preserve the value of those assets and carry out the purpose of the General Tribal Council's instruction to dissolve the corporation or restructure it. And that's exactly how we have been engaged, and that's the process that we're involved in today. And I think there's just a brief description of the corporation itself in this 1-page description, which really explains that the corporation itself has 2 employees that are actively managing the commercial portfolio of some 30 properties that are being leased to tenants and or are jointly owned in joint ventures, and that the goals of the corporation are really to preserve and continue that ongoing operation, and in the framework of the dissolution, consider the best way to organize to continue to manage those assets and address the needs of your tenants. And interestingly enough, you have 2 major tenants here that are a large portion of that portfolio. You've got Bell and Health Services and Schneider Trucking, which are really anchor tenants in the portfolio itself. And we're continuing to work with them to see what their ongoing needs are, because they are very pleased with their enterprise that they have here with you at Oneida, and they actually have plans for potentially expanding or extending that relationship. So we've been actively working with them as a part of coming up with the correct recommendations to preserve your existing asset, dissolve 7 Gens, and proceed with its mandate to really continue in the commercial leasing activities of that entity. And I believe that is pretty much an overview of what is in this one-page descriptor. And I would now, let me continue on. I think it's well known in the press and in various other sources that 7 Gens is a defendant in some legal actions related to the business of the enterprise, and that the tribe and 7 Gens are taking the appropriate defensive actions to preserve the interest of the tribe and of 7 Gens, and that because of that litigation, we are not able to go in great detail into the business operations or current activities. So I think that is where we discover ourselves today, and that's kind of a brief summary of where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Keluche. Any questions?
My questions earlier were about budget, that the committee needs to define a budget for this entity, and with that budget there needs to be some items to be addressed so that we can continue to supervise this entity in the absence of a board in place. And the budget items that are of concern are what is the amount that we have set aside for consultants, litigation, legal, personnel, business expense, and tax obligations? That's just a very short list of what's necessary for this entity. I'm sure there are other costs related. And I think from a fiscal standpoint, it's important that we have a determination of a budget and the needs of the 7 Gens entity. And the business committee, like I said, is responsible for that in the absence of a board in place. And I don't know that these things were expected nor written into the agreement for the agent. So I think that's on us as a committee. And that was my question earlier. So thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Any further questions? Okay, I would like to make a statement that in this morning's press gazette, there was a statement saying that your corporation was brung on to stabilize the relationship between 7 Generations and the General Tribal Council. I spoke with our public relations department, who is authorized to make a statement regarding 7 Generations, but they did not make that statement. So our public relations department is currently dealing with speaking with the Press Gazette on correcting that, because the corporation, Gene Keluche's company, was not brought on to stabilize any relationship between 7 Generations and the General Tribal Council. It was brought on to carry out the directive of General Tribal Council in a financially responsible manner. So, thank you for your report, Business Committee. Oh, we've already accepted. Okay, we've already accepted the report. We just wanted the public statement by you, so our membership can get to know you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chairman.
You want to accept the verbal report? Okay, make a motion. Vince wants to make a motion to accept the, no?
The secretary suggested that.
Oh,
I made a motion to accept the report.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We like your verbal report. Thank you.
Thank you.
The way I like it. Vince.
I would note that we will be following up with membership when we meet with them in a GTC forum to talk a little bit more, but obviously right now we're under some constraints.
Okay.